Hi, if you're watching, I'm excited about today's conversation because I have with me one of my former clients, member of 4PC, really a faculty member now in my team, what we do at 4PC, and a friend of mine, and Varian Brandon. I'm thrilled to have you with us.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, Rich. Really excited.
Cool. And what we said, we were just chatting before we began recording, was that this isn't a structured Tim Ferriss style interview. I want to chat with Varian about her journey through life, and then into coaching, and then into the world that we've been in together for a few years now. When did we first meet? Do you remember?
I do. It was September 2013. So this month is exactly 5 years.
Years. Yeah, yeah. And what drew you to come? It was an intensive, right?
It was an intensive, and it's interesting. I remember it so specifically. In July of 2013, I was at an intimate mastermind with Lisa Nichols in San Diego. And that night in the hotel, I was on Amazon for something. And because I, of course, am involved in coaching, at the bottom of the screen, it said, you might like, if you're familiar with Amazon, it'll give you suggestions of you might like this. And so it said, you might like, and the Prosperous Coach book came up. And I'm like, huh. And I clicked on it, bought it through Kindle, and stayed up all night reading the entire book. I was so tired the next day going into the mastermind, but I was so drawn in by your approach. It was something that was totally different than what was being said, what was being heard. And it felt like it really was a part of me in the way that I like to work. And so I immediately went to see what you had going on. I believe I emailed or something, asked, because I saw that there was an event coming up. I emailed, and surprisingly, and now being in the community, we hear this story a lot. You actually emailed back and was like, here's some resources. And it was like, wow. And so that September, 2 months later, I was in Los Angeles and have been connected ever since. Really changed my life.
Cool. That's awesome. Take me back before then, because you said you were coaching then. Your career before coaching, what were you up to before that?
I worked for 22 years as a corporate sales rep for one of the top four health insurance companies. So it's a top 14 on the Fortune 500. And so I did that for 22 years. Awesome job, awesome people. That job allowed me to do and have a life that was something I never dreamed of. And especially being a teenage mother, it allowed me to take care of my son in ways that I never thought possible. And so I had a wonderful, wonderful career over my career. I was thinking about that, ironically, earlier today, that in those 22 years, I mean, I sold like $750 million in my career. And I'm like, that's a lot of money. And so very awesome career, grew me, developed me. I say I was raised in corporate America, and I knew when it was time to do something different.
I always admire people who knew when it's time to do something different. Because for me, my change of career happened after 15 years, and it happened because I lost my job, and it was a sudden thing that happened. I say to me, I know I created it in some ways, but I admire people who catch it for themselves and see that it's time to move on. And so,
Yeah.
what was that had you see that? How did you know?
Um, Two things. Well, back in 2001, I had the seed of coaching really planted. Well, probably before that when I had my first coach, but in 2001 is really when I started to really think about one day I would be a coach. I started studying at that time with, you'll probably remember Thomas Leonard, who passed away freakishly. And I just didn't know when. And around, let me see, this is 2018. So probably around 2014, I tell people, and it's kind of funny, I started to feel like Al Bundy. I don't know if you're familiar with Al Bundy, because that's an American television show back in the 80s called Married with Children. And he would sit on the couch. He was this person who he didn't do anything with his life. And the only thing he had that he would talk about all the time is when he was the quarterback in high school and won the state championship. That was like the highlight of his life. And I started to feel like, oh my gosh, is this it for me? Is this all I'll be able to say that I accomplished? which is great. And from a lot of people's perspective, it's like, what do you mean? You've accomplished a lot. And I get that. But I started to feel like, oh my goodness, if this is it, I don't want to be 80 and this is all I've accomplished. And so I knew that it was time for me, because I was no longer getting fed by the job. I was now able to do it with my eyes closed. It was nothing challenging me anymore. The leaders, even in my organization, awesome people, but they were not growing enough to even be able to develop me. It's like, I can remember one time doing one of my yearly reviews, I had to tell my VP, hey, what if I read this book and reported on it? And what if I did this? And it's like, because they just weren't in the place of growing the way that I love to grow. So, yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, you speak the language of the high performers who I work with more and more. That feeling of I'm bored. Like I do this with my eyes closed. I hear that a lot. And the problem with playing a big game is that most people don't understand that. It's like you're at a place where they want to get to. And it's hard to sometimes own that. It's actually, it's no longer my path. So you came along to our event 5 years ago, 2013. Then what happened? Take me through your journey into coaching from there.
2013, came to your event that same year, December, I think it was, because I think you were launching for that following year. Got into the Prosperous Coach Salon, then subsequently did another salon right after that for PC. And so have really just been knee deep in your world, your philosophies, coaching on the side, but
so you were still working in this job at that point,
working,
right?
Yes, I was still working up until 16 months ago. I was working the whole time. And I can remember so vividly during one of the salons, we were having a conversation and you were asking me, because I was then teetering around. I wanted to leave my job, but I had a lot of fear around it, because I made a whole lot of money, like multiple six figures. I'm like, I don't know life without this money. And you were like, well, why, what is it about the money that you're so attached to? And I was like, well, because money gives me freedom. And you were like, well, suppose freedom gave you money. What do you mean? What do you mean freedom gives me money? And that one sentence, what if freedom gives you money, stuck with me, and it would not let me go. And from that moment, I really became focused on, okay, I need to leave my job. And so I asked to be laid off a couple of times. They told me no.
And there you go.
Because I had worked for so many years, I just didn't want to leave without a package. And so they told me no. And finally, last year, the beginning of last year, my VP, she said, I know you've been wanting this. There's an opportunity coming up. If you want to do this, it's here. And I was like, absolutely. And so in March of last year, I walked away from 22 years of my life and really all I knew as a professional. And so it's been interesting. It's been a wonderful journey.
So I want to take you through that a little bit, because I want to come into what happened next, but that piece of the journey of knowing that I want to coach, but I'm taken care of here. I really appreciate this, because I think too many coaches jump too early, and if you don't have the resources to support you, you're like a startup business. And the reason most startups are run by spotty teenage kids eating ramen noodles in their parents' basement is you need a lot of resources to start off a business. You made sure that you were taken care of first, and you coached on the side. You built your skills, you built your competence, you built your connections, you built your community. That's really cool to hear.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I built all my skills during that time, because if people don't understand, it does take an investment to build your skills as a good coach. Now, anybody can just slap the title coach, and we know that there are tons of people who do, but to be a good coach, a coach who really provides value, it takes you investing in yourself to do that. And you're right, I was still building everything on the side, which is why even when I transitioned, my audience had been being built. I was nurturing and building and adding value and communicating for so many years prior, that when I was ready to transition, they were ready to buy. I had built that audience to be ready for me.
That's great. That reminds me of the book Show Your Work by Austin Kleon, because he says so many people, they wait, like when I've got the perfect book, then I'll finally put it out.
Yeah.
No, build your audience now as you're going. And that's great hearing that you did that. Take me back to the days of the first salon you did, the Prosperous Coach Salon, where we teach the framework of the Prosperous Coach. What was it like being in that group? Because it's not, we don't teach theory in those groups. It's real stuff. It's real stuff around creating clients, around coaching. What was that experience like for you?
It was a obvious extraordinary experience because I did 2 back-to-back, and it's an intense experience as well, because as you are learning how to grow a coaching practice, what you don't tell us is that you're actually growing you. I mean, you are growing you to expand your capacity to be able to build something of that magnitude. And so it was very intense, but it wasn't theory, like you said. I mean, it was, no, we're not just going to talk about this. We're going to get out in the world. What we talk about, now we're going to go out in the world and create it. And so it was a very intense process because you couldn't hide. It's not, you know, when you're in programs where there may be 50, 60, 70 or whatever, or home study programs, people can hide and you don't do that stuff. But it's like when you're in that close proximity, not only with a mentor coach like you, but also with high level coaches around you, you can't hide and you have to really step up to the occasion.
Now, I remember clearly, but I haven't got to that story yet. I know what you're laughing at. I remember you and I clearly loved it so much. I did something unusual. I said, let's take any of you who want to keep working with me. Let's do this again. And we created a second salon, and it wasn't about the Prosperous Coach approach. It was just like, we got an extraordinary group of people here. Let's play for another 6 months together. Let's dive even deeper. And that was a fascinating experience. That was really fun. That was, for me, one of the tastes of me, I love to work with the top performers. Who wants to keep working? Who wants to keep playing? Now, I know what you're laughing at, because if I'm right, I know I am. There was a moment on a call where something came up about having you lean into your edge. And I think you were in your car at that point, and I had you get out the car and run around the parking lot. And what were you doing while you ran? There was something else to it.
I was having to yell, whippy, whippy, around the parking garage. It was so interesting because I was talking about that I just wanted to lean into my edge. And Rich was like, it sounds like you just want to feel alive. And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, okay. And so that was his assignment. I'm running around the parking garage at my corporate job and happened to run into the security guard. And he's looking at me and I'm like, just don't even worry about it. My coach has me doing an assignment. Just pretend like you don't see me.
I love it. So first of all, you can blame me for the rest of your life for anything you're doing that looks out of the ordinary. Just my coach made me do it.
Yes.
And second of all, it's not like it was a tool I'd ever used in the past or I've ever used again. It was in that moment when you were saying, I want to feel alive. What came to me is like, well, let's do something that has you be alive. And you took a real risk for you, especially it was in your corporate building. And you did that. And it was a great moment. I've never forgotten it, nor have any of us who were on that call.
Right.
And then you came into 4PC, which was where I'd begun to really get clear by that point. So this must have been 4 to 5 years ago when I first had this idea of, what if I put together some of the best coaches on the planet and we built this community, and you came in. What was that like, stepping into that community?
It was, if I were to describe it, it probably was just up-leveling more of the same. It was an up-level on the salon, because the salon is really about the trenches of new coaches building your practice, where 4PC is really about missions in the world. How do you contribute in the world? How do you exponentially impact the world? And so it was definitely an up level in the way that I even think and approach what I do in the world. And it was a different level of accountability, not accountability from the normal approach, just accountability being in circle with the caliber of people that you bring into 4PC.
Nice. Yeah. It's not accountability like, here's your checklist. Have you done it yet? It's like when everyone else is playing a bigger game than you, it doesn't matter that out in the world, everyone's impressed by your game. You're realizing, oh my God, there's so much more I am capable of. And Then you went out into the world to take a year out on your own. You were away from our community for a while, which I love, because for me, coaching isn't about stay with your coach forever and be protected. It's like the whole point of coaching is to be out there and creating. Mm-hmm. What was that time like when you were out into the world?
It was wonderful. It gave me an opportunity to take what I learned and also begin to couple it with, okay, now what was my own philosophies? What were my own ways of doing things? And how do I take what I had learned and really filter it through the essence of who I was? So it was great to have that time away to really see who I am in the world with what I'd learned, and as I was really developing my own way of coaching. So it was awesome. Stayed on the fringe, of course, never leave forever, but it was awesome to be out and then to be able to come back and be a part with fresh and different experiences and eyes as well. So yeah. Nice.
And you came back, you began to join our team when we were running our big events, our intensives. Mm-hmm. And then there came a moment when you joined the team for 4PC. You're on the Source team with Wendy, which is really, the two of you actually who really hold it. And Source team has that name because you're the team that sources the whole experience. Mm-hmm. And it means you're there, you're everything from holding space to making sure people are taken care of. But really, it takes a lot to be in service of others. And at the same time, we have a phrase we use in our community, right? Service is the best seat in the house. Mm-hmm. Where's that true for you? I see you smiling. Where's that true for you?
It is true because being on the side of being on faculty, staff, and helping behind the scenes is, I mean, spending so many years being a participant and a receiver of what was happening is definitely extraordinary. But to be on the inside, because yeah, you used to say this stuff all the time. It was like, yeah, I'm sure. We're preparing months before you all get here and we're doing all of this. And it's like, yeah, that's what people like to say. But no, it's true. We are deeply and very intimately preparing months before any of the events, whether it's the public intensive, whether it's 4PC, and to see what it takes. Now I understand. People may wonder why you have such phenomenal results, why you have such a phenomenal community, but what you put into it and what the people who choose to serve your community put into it, it is a lot. And it's service from a different perspective. You've said before that the service, what we do and the broader leadership team for the intensive is really a $10,000 leadership program, because it's not volunteer work. It's like that. This is not volunteer work, what we do. I mean, we really are sourcing and creating and being a part of the magic, what happens at the Rich Lippman Intensive and 4PC and all of the events that you do.
Take me up to date. Thank you for that, because there is so much we have 30 people who for months are getting on Zoom calls like this and coaching one another, supporting each other to really shine and show up powerfully. Take me up to date. What are you doing? If I got off the call, I love to ask this question of coaches. Mm-hmm. If I got off this call and I was going to tell somebody, oh, I just spent time with Varian, this is what she's up to, this is what her dream clients are, what would I say?
Wow, I am up to the beginning of my dream. And I say the beginning of my dream because I don't think it's even all, I can't even see it all yet. What I've even accomplished since I left my corporate job has just been so surprising to me, because I was prepared to be struggling for, for the first couple of years. I was like, I had made up my mind, and I know this is not going to be easy. It's not a game, but transitioning out, I've been able to build a coaching practice. In these 16 months, I've already earned over $100,000, which I never thought would be my reality so soon. I expected it down the road, but not so soon. And so
can I go pause? I want to draw a distinction here. This is really important, because people think I'm a new coach. And they think, so a new coach can charge this much per hour or this much they'll make in a year. You're a new coach with 22 years of leadership experience, 22 years of experience in the corporate world, understanding negotiation, understanding mediation, understanding communication, understanding conflict, handling high-risk situations, selling, what did you say? Over 750 million. What did you say? How many?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that number? Yeah. That's an incredible experience which comes with you. And on top of that, you've been building an audience for years because you've been talking about what was important to you, sharing it, and building people who are interested to be part of what you do. So whilst it looks surprising when you say, oh, a new coach made over 6 figures in a short time, no. This is a woman with years of leadership experience, worldly experience, sharing her stuff to build community. There's no surprise to me as I witness the journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and working a lot, mostly with women like me, women who have been highly successful, but they've gotten to a point where they're like, okay, wow, I thought this was going to give me everything that I wanted. And it's been good. It's not, most of my clients are not people who like hate their jobs. Mm-hmm. It's just that they know that there's time for something different. One of my clients, she has been an OBGYN for 15 years. She just closed her practice this January because she was like, I don't want to spend all my time being away from my family, because being an OBGYN, delivering babies, your schedule is crazy. You're all over the place. And so she just woke up and said, I really want to do something different. I believe I can use my medical skills in a different way. And so most of my clients are women like me who are really realizing that they went after the dream. The dream has been great, and they have other dreams that they want to either bring alongside what they're doing or totally shift and begin to explore what else is possible. They also are women who, you'll understand this, and not all of them are threes, but I'm an Enneagram 3. And so you spend a lot of your career, a lot of your life with this image, building up this hugely successful image and lifestyle. And then they realize, yes, part of that is me, but I want to do some other things that may totally look different than what people expect of me. And so walking alongside them and giving them the courage to choose something different than what they've always done and even what people expect them to do. So
that's beautiful. I love that. I love that for a number of reasons. One of which is that many people work to help people transition out of the corporate world. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of discomfort, disharmony, and frustration in that world. They're not your people. These people who've thrived, who've got to the heights of their career, like you, and they've achieved their dream. Mm-hmm. And there's a pain point I'm hearing where I want to have another dream.
Yes.
How do I get in touch with my other dream? Or there's been a secret dream underneath it.
Yes.
One of the things that's really powerful is when you listen to your clients' words and you start to repeat them back, look for the commonalities. So I'm curious, if any come right now, or as you put your attention on it, what are the precise words that your clients use? For me, one of the things I've heard about really high performers that I work with is I feel lazy. Like I get all this acknowledgement and praise out in the world from other people, but on the inside, secretly, I feel lazy. When I say that to high performers, they go, oh my God, yeah, me too. I know you know that one, right? Me too. And it's not something that's said out in the world. So I'm curious what happens as you begin to look into the secret dreams, the secret fears, and the very words, the thoughts in their heads of your people. Because the moment you start articulating them, your people are going to go, oh my God, how did you know that? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm hearing it. It's there. You're very close to it. I love this thought too, that these are also people who have been the performers as well as the achievers. And there's a price of being a performer, looking good on the outside. Everyone's admiring you, but on the inside, again, I know this one, on the inside, something's not matching up, or wanting to do something different, but not knowing how you can not get beyond that.
Yes.
I remember for 6 months after I lost my job, I'm living on a beach in Thailand, and I'm still introducing myself to people with the job title that I used to have. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I didn't have anything apart from that. Was my identity.
And because what happens is, what I find a lot of the people that I work with, well, just humans in general, in my experience, they're chasing a certain level of money or income, because we have this thought that when I get to this level, then I've made it and things will be easier. And many of my clients, they've gotten to that level and they're like, oh my gosh, I thought this was going to solve everything and it doesn't. And then they start to, and it sounds funny if they were talking to people out in the world, but like when they're talking to me, they're like, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know what I want. And people would think, what do you mean you don't know what you want? You have everything. And it's like, you hear things like, I don't even know who I am.
So that's beautiful. Those words are very precise words that your people say. It doesn't matter that most people on the planet wouldn't understand them. Is that you do is what draws them to you. I love that. I don't even know who I am. That's very powerful. This is great. I love this part of the journey, because this fascinates me about high performers. That's what I call the guilty secrets of extraordinary top performers. When you can get behind their thinking and articulate the words that they have, they say, wow. So thank you so much for being with me today, particularly for sharing the journey, Varian. And I love we're able to distinguish where you've been on your journey, why what looks like rapid success as a coach has actually been a lifetime in the making, and why your people are drawn to you, because it's because of that very track record that your clients are drawn to you.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't even I was thinking about earlier this morning how a lot of my success is also, I can track probably 80% of all the money that I've made in some way back to you. And that's an interesting concept, whether through how I've learned to powerfully hold containers, to really create containers for transformation, to even the people that I've met in the Prosperous Coach community, some of them who became clients, some of them who referred clients to me. I mean, I can track it all back to you. And so when people see you, yes, they see you as the phenom that you are, but it's the entire community that you curate that makes the Rich Litvin intensives, the Rich Litvin company, what it is, because you have a draw for dynamic and magnificent people. So thank you.
Thank you for being one of them. And I received that. Thank you. I appreciate you saying those words. Varian, it's been thrilling to be able to get an update on what you're up to. And I'm glad we get to hang out together in a few days. We've got our next intensive. We've got 4PC. So we'll get to make some magic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rich.